The Chicago Bears head to Tampa Bay to take on the 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chicago, we all know that we had a very tough week this past week from a media standpoint, walking around the city, and overall just not a lot of fun. But I'm hoping for a turnaround, and today's guest, JC Allen from Bucs Game Day, powered by Sports Illustrated, is hoping that the Bucs stay hot. JC, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, happy to be here. Happy to chop it up, talk a little history here between the Bucs and the Bears, being from that former NFC Central Conference. These teams are no strangers to each other, playing over 61 times. Bears have had a lot of success, but the Bucs have kind of counteracted that the past few years, and it looks like they might be on the winning side of things this Sunday too. So I'm sure we'll break that down and get into it on this episode of the podcast. Excited to be here.
I hope that it's not a curse from last time, because last time we got together to talk about this didn't turn out very well in the Bears' favor. Bears got absolutely destroyed by the Bucs. And you even texted me, you're like, well, that didn't go as planned for you. So it's, right now the team is in a better position. Last week, though, was tough for the Bears versus Packers. But, I don't need to talk about that from my standpoint, but from a Bucs fan standpoint, we don't like the Vikings just as much as the next guy. I was telling you that beforehand. How did you feel entering that game? Were you shocked by the outcome? What really stood out to you first before we start diving into it?
Yeah, so I wasn't shocked at all. I actually picked the Bucs to win 23-20. I knew it was going to be a close game, but one of the things that led me to picking the Bucs is just there's a lot of turnover on that defense. Gone are guys like Zadarius Smith and longtime linebacker Eric Kendricks, both jettisoned off the team in free agency and through trades. Brian Flores comes in and kind of puts his own system, which is a very aggressive attacking system, disguising system, and with a lot of young players on that team, I thought the Bucs offense with no tape out there, because it's a new offensive coordinator, new system that's, while it still has its roots based in that Shanahan-McVay system, has a lot of different things to draw on, with Dave Canales drawing from his time, 13 years in Seattle with Pete Carroll, Darrell Bevel, and also Brian Schottenheimer. So there were going to be a lot of things that Flores has never seen, and they got to him early on, and that pressure that they were bringing led to a very slow start. But as soon as they made those necessary adjustments, they're able to get the ball moving. So I thought that would be a really good matchup for the Buccaneers. I knew the defense would play well. If you really kind of contain Justin Jefferson, and I knew the linebackers would do a good job on Hawkinson. So they didn't contain Jefferson in the first half, that's for sure, going for 7 for 138, but they made those adjustments in the second half, held them to 2 for 12, 2 catches for 12 yards, and kind of turned that ball game around. And plus, the Minnesota Vikings right now are just turnover happy. They're giving the ball to anyone who will take it. So I was high on their victory for week one. My season predictions, I have them coming up victorious in this game as well. But we'll get into that and those reasons why, I'm sure, down the line.
Yeah, no. Let's just you opened up the floodgates with that comment saying that the Bucs are going to beat the Bears, and obviously I'm on the other side of this. So, let's kind of break down kind of some stats from ESPN that I was able to bring in for today. Let's just kind of kick things off. So the Bears offense is overall ranked from a yardage standpoint at 14, passing 17th, rushing 7th. Our defense overall, though, is 22nd in total yards given up, 25th in passing yards given up. Baker Mayfield had a huge week last week for Tampa Bay. And then rushing, the Bears defense is ranked 13th. That kind of shocked a couple of people with how many big plays the Packers had. But overall, the team is better than they were last year out of the gate on paper. Going over to the Bucs, overall, their offense is ranked 26 from a yardage standpoint, but I don't think that speaks to the story. And Kate, I know you're going to speak to it a little bit more, JC, here in a second, but passing 19th, rushing 15th, and their defense, I mean, they're ranked second in the NFL right now. Passing, you kind of said it in the first half, they could not stop Justin Jefferson. In the second half, they were able to do that a little bit more. So the overall defense is 27th. Off those stats, on paper, the teams look like it's going to be a fun matchup because they're evenly matched in all different areas. One thing that, I could allude to is that the Bears defense did not play up to their potential. On paper, they look a lot better than they played against the Green Bay Packers, and hopefully that changes. But, you kind of want to kick things off for us to kind of understand what the Bucs offense is like. You want to speak to their rankings on yardage after the first game, but what are you feeling?
Yeah, I think the Bucs offense, what makes the it's so dangerous as it's so unpredictable. They have a variety of plays that they can line up in that formation that they can run from a single formation. So whether it's 12 personnel, 11 personnel, empty back, they can hit you with a variety of different ways that all look the same when you're lining up against it. When defenses are scouting it, it's hard to say, okay, when they line up like this is what they're running, because they have so many different options to do that. So they have different ways to attack you. Obviously, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, two of the best receivers in the NFL. They have very hungry young backs. Rashad White, well, he left some meat on the bones last year. Very upset with himself with that performance. I expect a bounce back performance from him. But this team ideally wants to be a run-first team that sets everything up. Offensive coordinator Dave Canales says it's like a heavyweight boxing match, right? You're not just going to go for the knockout punch early on. It's going to be body blow, body blow, body blow. You know, when the time is right, when the defense is gassed, then you take that deep shot and hit him with a haymaker. And I think that's what they're trying to set up here.
Do you want to give us your offensive coordinator? Do you mind if we borrow him for a game? Because we couldn't do that at all last game.
Man, I watched JT O'Sullivan's breakdown of the Bears, Justin Fields and the Bears offense, and that was scary. So, yeah, between the offensive coordinator and Justin Fields, yuck! It was not a fun week to be a Bears fan last week. But
you're telling me.
I think that that system, the way they have, everyone's bought in. And, you saw the aggressiveness of Baker Mayfield with the angry runs. Everyone's behind him. And they've all bought into what this offense could be. Every single player on the offensive line, which this system makes it easier for the offensive line running that mid zone, wide zone. You're moving the defensive line horizontally instead of really letting them come back at you. And that was a big deal last year with Brady, is they were dropping back 60 times a game. And that's a recipe for failure. The defense knows it's coming. And there were so many clips that came out of players mic'd up saying, oh, we know they're doing this, we know they're doing that. They were just refusing to make adjustments or anything. And part of that was because Byron never been in a different system, so he didn't know anything other than the Bruce Arians system, which would just put your talent out there and let them beat you. But that's not going to be anything like this Bucs. If they find a way to stop something, they're going to try to find a way to open something up. So the offense has the potential to be really explosive. I mean, just kind of think last year's Seattle Seahawks. All right, that's the baseline to go off on it, but with different tweaks and different things that they can layer onto it because of his, like I said, because of his experience, Dave Canales' experience with Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer and Darrell Bevel. He's got this wealth of knowledge and things to put into the playbook that can really kind of counteract what defenses are doing. And you saw that last week, and especially in that second half and right before the half when they scored those back-to-back touchdowns in those possessions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit scared of the Bucs offense. I wasn't expecting to be, kind of when Baker Mayfield became the starting quarterback for the Bucs. It kind of was that Andy Dalton feeling when he became the quarterback of the Bears a few years back, and I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, I guess. But then, in his first game, he definitely shined, and your game plan was just so well put together. I think that's something that the Bears have struggled with tremendously against the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot of mixed messages coming out of House Hall at the moment in regards to how Fields feels, Getsy feels, Eberflus feels. But then, you go on social media and then they do their practice and everyone looks happy and, they're scoring touchdowns and all that stuff. It's like, okay, there's so many mixed feelings. It's like when you first start dating somebody, you're like, oh, this is kind of weird up. I don't know. Like the Bears fans are dating this team right now. They're not fully committed to it because we don't trust it. But it sounds like the Bucs have a good system put in place even after, Brady leaving and, losing some key players this past offseason. But, they are going to be a good team. Want to go over to the defensive side of the ball real quick because of how the Bears, for both sides of the ball, the Bears had a challenge last week in Aaron Jones. Wasn't expecting a big game out of Jordan Love. And we don't know if Jordan Love is going to be that guy. I mean, it's just that there was such a great game plan in place for him. They played to his strengths and the Bears fell apart. There was no leadership. There was no energy. And that's something that the Bears struggle with. But, that's in all these press conferences this past week. Obviously, they're not going to get too down on themselves, but they were like, yeah, we were quiet. We need to be better. And we're hoping for that energy again. So from a defensive standpoint against that offense, Bears have to be ready for them to air it out. We lost Kyler Gordon last week for the next 4 weeks. We still don't have Tevin Jenkins on the offensive line, key injuries. But From a defensive standpoint, we still have a lot of our defensive big names. We have Yannick, we have Marcus Walker, Tremaine Edmonds, all those guys. So from an offensive standpoint of the Bears looking at the Bucs, where is the Bucs' biggest strength right now out of the gate from your perspective?
Well, as far as on the defensive side of the ball?
The defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's the front seven, being able to shut down that run. You saw last week, they held the Vikings to 41 rushing yards on the ground, and that's going to kind of make the Bears one-dimensional, right? Now, Justin Fields is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks, if not the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league with his legs. You're going to have to contain him, and the biggest thing for the Bucs in order for them to win this game, and it's one of my keys to the game, is make Justin Fields beat you through the air. Because so far he has not been able to look like an adequate quarterback, or at least consistently an adequate quarterback who can make all the reads, staying in the pocket, make the throws. Last week, it was a lot of checkdowns, missed a lot of wide open guys, and relied on his legs too often to get him out of spaces where he had open targets that he could have just popped the ball out. He felt the pressure coming and decided to take off. And that's been one of the biggest knocks on Fields, right, is his progression as a passer. Being able to hang in there, take those hits, and deliver those position strikes. They have upgraded that offensive line, spent resources on it. Darnell Wright, Nate Davis. They brought in a wide receiver caliber with.
I'm just shaking my head at Nate Davis right now because that was
bad. That was that bad, but you can't think he's going to play like that all season, or at least you hope he's not going to.
I hope not.
But they've put the resources around to allow Justin Fields, and really, like we were talking about, this is a contract year for him. He's got his 5th-year option on the line, and the Bears are loaded with 2 first-round picks that are probably going to be in the top 10 if the season keeps going the way it's going for the Panthers and the Bears. So he's got a lot to prove, and it's really going to start against this Buccaneers defense, who got younger, who got faster, and should be able to contain Fields in the running game. Obviously, no one can actually contain Fields, but at least kind of push him back towards that pocket. And make him try to beat you through the air. So for the Bucs, it's that run defense. They've got to contain Khalil Herbert and Rashawn Johnson. Last time these two teams played, Herbert had 100 yards on the ground. He added another 33 through the air on 5 catches. Rashawn Johnson can bully you when he lowers his shoulder. He's not afraid of contact. Love that kid coming out of Texas. But I think that's where it all starts, and from there you can do everything else. The Buccaneers will be without Kalijah Kancey this week, their first-round pick, and will be without, as I reported yesterday, Carlton Davis, who's dealing with a turf toe injury. So there's an opportunity there for Justin Fields, depending on who they have lined up. It looks like it's going to be second-year player Zion McCollum. We'll see if they choose to have how they choose to play it with Jamel Dean, maybe switching sides to take over more, or if they're going to trust this rookie Zion McCollum and give him some help over top, or second-year player rather, over top of DJ Moore. But the biggest thing for the Bucs is they have to tackle. They have to tackle. So much of this Bears defense, while they can hit the deep shots sometimes, is they've got guys who are incredible at running after the catch and making those yards and getting those explosive plays, turning them up the field, making guys miss. So you're gonna have to make Justin Fields beat you to the air, contain him, and then also make sure you're sound tackling, because if not, these guys can make you miss, and they've got the speed and the game-changing ability to take it up the field, and then they're gone.
And I just want to, I love that you said you got to make Justin Fields beat you through the air, because first thing I tweeted after the game was Luke Getsy needs to come out on the first play against this Bucs defense and just throw it. I don't care if it's a 10-yard overthrow. Show that you are willing to pass the ball deep. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've just retweeted recently from Olin Kreutz a breakdown of what Fields did, reading the Packers defense, calling out a blitz package. And that's why Darnell Mooney was able to score that 1 touchdown later in the game. And, that's kind of what I'm looking for in this game. That front 7 in Tampa Bay is no joke. You just said it yourself. And I think that the number one thing that the Bears need to do is they need to win on the pass and attack. That's what's going to open up things for Rashawn Johnson. That's what's going to open up for Foreman and Herbert, and also Justin Fields himself. Another thing too, Bears fans, that I'm looking out for, that, JC, maybe you're going to see as well, is that I don't want Fields to be afraid to rip it up with his feet. He's talented at it. That's what Michael Vick did. That's what Lamar Jackson does. These guys make it work, and it's part of their game plan. So overall, just what I would love to see against the Bucs is you see a hole to the outside when Justin Fields can outbeat someone on your front seven, run for it. That's what I'm looking for. One thing, though, that I think the Bucs have the advantage of over the Chicago Bears, minus their crazy defensive line against our pretty bad offensive line out of the gate, is, overall our backfield. We do not have any blocking running backs. So the Bears are going to be forced to be having blasting game in a ton against you guys in order to have that extra protection and maybe some 2 tight end packages. Mercedes Lewis, great blocking tight end, but also Cole Kmet. So you're taking away more targets that you could have on the field with Darnell Mooney, Claypool, and more. You might have 2 of the 3 out there.
And we know Claypool doesn't block.
Well, last week, that's a whole nother story that
I'll leave it alone.
No, please. This is what we're for. And I wonder if people have figured out at this point that you and I are having a friendly conversation about this. Like when we do it with other NFC North programs, it's not very nice. We like to go at each other. I mean, you used to be in the division, but we're just having fun here. And I'm happy we were able to get together again. Hopefully it's a different outcome for me this time. So then you're not up 2-0 on me. But we'll see about that. But let's hit more on. I want to get a little bit more into the strengths of our teams. I can talk about it right out of the gate. Fields still has the legs. Kind of was just hitting on that. That's a big strength, and this is overall team. Fields still has the legs. He can make room for himself. The running back room also looks really strong out of the gate against even a tough, arguably Green Bay front seven. Tampa Bay is much, much stronger, but we still have that advantage because you're going to have to plan against the run, which is great. And then a positive for the defensive side of the ball is that you guys are, a rush. You guys can be a rushing team when you want to be. I mean, Mayfield can rip it up himself too, but we have a crazy linebacker room right now. Our front 4, Yannick is the guy for sure right now, but hopefully that continues to be passed on. But overall, I mean, our linebacker room is definitely going to be able to shut down the short passes. That's what we did a ton against Green Bay. Green Bay had to go to the secondary against us, which is scary for you guys. I'm sure that's going to be one of your strengths. But overall, that's my strengths. But what are 3 strengths, your top 3 strengths from both sides of the ball that we all should be looking out for the Buccaneers?
So I actually kind of disagree with you there a little bit on that short passing game. I think the Buccaneers are going to need to utilize that short, quick passing game against against those linebackers. I mean, they let up over 100 receiving yards to those running backs for Green Bay last week. In their career, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds have, Tremaine Edmonds has let up over 60 missed tackles in his career. TJ Edwards not as high, but it was 62. But also you look at, Eddie Jackson, he's missed 67 career tackles. Jalen Johnson has missed quite a few tackles.
Wait, this is supposed to be a friendly podcast. What happened?
I'm just saying. I'm just
roasting all of a sudden. I'm just kidding.
I think that's where the Bucs need to kind of come out the gate is execute those quick, short passes and kind of take advantage of some of these weaknesses in coverage that TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds have. Those guys in the running game, it's going to be difficult. I mean, even though they held Green Bay to 92 yards on the ground with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, both of those backs still average over 4 yards per carry, but they were able to slow down that rushing attack enough. But I think if you can get your playmakers in space, get them the ball, and then rely on the Bears tackling, that hasn't been a strong suit for them over the course of their career. I think Tyreek Stevenson's very aggressive and can sometimes, take bad angles, even going back to college on tackling. So I think executing those short, quick passes is going to open up. It's going to go hand in hand, and these are my other 2 keys to the game, is establishing that ground game. If you establish that running game, which the Bears were terrible last year. I mean, they were bottom of the league in yards, bottom of the league in touchdowns allowed, yards per carry average. They've made some changes, obviously, with Edmonds and Edwards there, who are good run defenders. But if you can get that ground game going, execute those short, quick passes, that's going to open up those haymakers down the field to Mike Evans and to Chris Godwin. The other thing I think that really kind of works too is you'll see Godwin probably play a lot more in the slot, especially with Kyler Gordon going on IR with that hand injury. I'm not even sure right now who's going to be in there for you guys.
It'll be Josh Blackwell.
Well, he was at practice, had an injury, dealing with dealing with an injury in practice yesterday too. So that's one of those things where is he 100% as well? So, I think you get those short, quick passes that Godwin utilizes, run after the catch, and make guys like Eddie Jackson and Jalen Johnson, they're at their best when they're playing that deep half of the field, when they can go out there and be playmakers, and Jalen Johnson can just worry about taking away a guy, because he can put the clamps on a receiver. I mean, there's no disrespect to Jalen Johnson. He can put the clamps, but if he's having to cover these short, quick twitch routes, it makes it a little hard on him. He's a very versatile player, can play man, can get physical up the line, can play zone. I like what I see out of Jalen Johnson, but that's one area I think you can target him. Get these short, quick routes where he's playing off a little bit, and you can get those quick completions. And then same thing with Eddie Jackson. If you take away that deep shot ball where he's so good at being in 14 career interceptions, all pro player, if you make him come down into the box a little bit more and force him to tackle with those quick short passes or in the running game, that's where he's faltered a little bit in his career. Some of the best have. Love Jaquan Brisker. He's going to be a hammer that the Bucs are going to try to, stay away from, I think, in the running game. And then, again, I think they'll try to bully on Tyreek Stevenson, especially if he's lined up, depending on who he's lined up with. But I think if they can do those two things, it's going to be a long day, long afternoon for the Bears. So I think those are some of the strengths that they can capitalize on the defensive side. It's going to be shutting down that run. Guys like Devin White he had the best game of his career probably last week. Just instincts, intangibles, speed, being able to get down to those screens and stop them for losses, stop them at the line. He was all over the field. And then Antoine Winfield Jr. is just a dangerous player wherever you put him. You can play in the box, you can play the deep field, you can play in the middle, you can use him over top. It's going to be a little bit difficult if Zion is the guy covering DJ Moore, because they'll probably need to utilize him off the line of scrimmage and over the top a little bit more, which will affect his ability, obviously, to put pressure on Fields. He's also going to be the one that needs to spy Fields too. So it's going to be an interesting game plan. But I think those players, those are the kind of things that the Bucs need to do in order to shut down the Bears' day and be successful and come out, 2-0 and win their home opener.
Well, it sounds like, so minus the roast that we had there for a second, which I love a good roast. No, it's not even a roast. It's facts. And I have to agree. Eddie Jackson needs to learn how to tackle. Ever since he's put on number 4, Bears fans, you guys can probably definitely jump in here and agree. Ever since he put on number 4, he has not been the same tackling Eddie Jackson that we knew. But I will say this, is that each team is perfectly matched in a way of strengths versus weaknesses. And kind of like you were saying, it could go one way or the other for both of these situations. I think Sunday is going to be a lot of fun for both because, one, we don't play each other often. Recently, we have. And, there is a long history, like you said, between these teams, low-key a rivalry. I think that it could be a good time. And I know that you're saying that they're going up 2-0. But before we close out, JC, what is your score prediction for the game? Is it going to be a close one? Is it going to be lopsided? I mean, obviously you hope it's lopsided, but non-biased, what are you seeing out of this game for the Bucs?
Hey, there's no bias here because the Bucs aren't my team. So I just always root for a good football game, but I think this is one that gets away from the Bears. I think the Bucs are able to capitalize on some of these things that we talked about. I'm just not sold on Fields as being a guy who can. I'm just not sold on him as a complete quarterback yet. And, maybe he has the opportunity. I think this is, for Bucs fans are thinking of all weeks that, we lose Carlton Davis for a game. Thank goodness it's against Justin Fields. And I think Bears fans are probably thinking, oh man, they're losing Carlton Davis. This is a good opportunity for Justin Fields to show that he can, kind of deliver those throws. But at the end of the day, I just think the Bucs defense is too good. And I think that Justin Fields is just not there yet. And, he needs to get there soon, or else Bears fans are going to be looking for a new quarterback at the end of the season. I've got the Bucs pulling away. I think I put in my prediction was 28-16. So Bears get a touchdown, but it's 3 field goals from there on out.
I appreciate the honesty. I think that this is going to be a good football game. I think that Matt Eberflus, not sure if you heard, but George McCaskey put a meeting on first thing Monday morning with just Eberflus and Poles. And it was not planned. He put it on the calendar, no assistant involved, and very little details came out of that. And the energy at Hallis Hall shifted into, oh crap. And that's why the title of this episode is The Bears Have to Win This Game. This is a crucial point because you go to Kansas City next week. You can't go 0-3 after such a big offseason. So I want a good football game. If I go into a game 0-3, I just wanted to know that there was insane improvement and that we lost to a talented Buccaneers team. I'm going to try it this week. I didn't tell you this. I'm going to try it this week. I'm not giving a score prediction. But the only thing that I want to see, win or lose, is pass the damn ball. That's all I want to see is Justin Fields. I don't care if he throws it 60 times and makes 22 passes. As long as he is airing it out and showing that this offense is trying to make the connection, because I think Flus messed up during the preseason. And if that's the case, that you want Justin Fields to just throw, screen passes, put in Bajent, who clearly can throw it deeper, or shoot, even Nathan Peterman. I don't care. But I think it's going to be a good football game. I'm excited for this Sunday. I'm trying to forget about last week. I'm not trying. I have forgotten about next week now. I'm saying that right now, literally right now. I'm just forgetting about it. It's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I'm always looking for a good competitive game. I just think that there's too much to overcome for this Bears team. It's one of these games where I feel like the momentum is riding with the Buccaneers. The defense believes, the offense believes, and I think they'll have a good game plan ready to counteract whatever the Bears try to do. And until you prove it, it's hard to ride with a guy who looks better suited as potentially a running back than a quarterback right now.
Oh man, don't tell me that. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. But great guys don't win football games. Sometimes you need a bad guy to get in there. And Baker Mayfield, some people look at him as a bad guy, and he wins football games.
He's a villain for sure.
But JC, as always, this is a lot of fun, man. It's fun to chop it up between two teams, and maybe we get a little playoff action later this year. Being optimistic for just agree with me. Just agree, like, oh yeah, there's a chance.
There's a chance, but there's a larger chance you'll be having two top 10 picks this year. I think. So yeah, it's still a win. It's still a win.
It's still a win, but man, it's been a lot since the double doink. I know we went to the playoffs once, but
I know. And then you have Justin Jefferson having more total yards at 24 than any Bears receiver in the history of your franchise that you've been around for 100 years. It's tough. I understand.
When ESPN put that out there, I just flicked them the bird. I looked at my phone and just flicked them the bird. I'm like, really? What did we do to deserve that? You couldn't
catching strays in the middle of the game.
It was unbelievable. But it's going to be a fun game. Maybe depending on our schedules, maybe depending on the game, we'll do a live stream after. You and I can try to organize that. Yeah. But let's see how this thing goes. But JC, as always, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Guys, follow me at JC Allen NFL on Twitter, and follow all my work at Bucs Game Day. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside JC Allen, and bear down.